Double, double, toil and trouble. Listen closely, here's the pitch. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. One of these ladies is a wet. What is your name, please?
My name is Sybil Leek.
My name is Sybil Leek. My name is Sybil Leek.
Only one of these ladies is the real Sybil Leek. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, and Kitty Carlisle. On To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Brought to you this week by Chef Boyardee, the complete line of Italian-style foods. Chef Boyardee. Panel, good evening to you.
Hello. Good evening, Bud.
Everybody well and happy?
Bud.
Open up that envelope, if you will, please, and follow along with this first story, which sounds intriguing. I, Sybil Leek, am a witch. I am high priestess of a group of witches who hold meetings 4 times a year in a clearing in the woods. Like most of the traditional practitioners of witchcraft, I wear a black shawl and a snake bracelet. I also own a raven black jackdaw named Hotfoot Jackson. Far from being evil, I am what is known as a white witch. That means I use my powers only for good. Since it is difficult to make a living as a witch in present-day England, I own and operate 3 quite successful antique shops. Signed, Sybil Leek. Panel, these 3 ladies all claim to be Sybil Leek. Enough said. Let's start the questioning with Orson B.
Thank you. Miss Witch number 3, how do you do that thing where you make the smoke come around when you walk up the stairs? Oh, wasn't that you?
I really don't know. I'd love to learn.
A special effect. Number 3, still, you can't make a living as a witch over there? Wouldn't there be little odd jobs that witches could do?
Oh, I think so, yes, but you've got to expand, you know.
What do you do as a witch that is for good? Name me something that you have done in your lifetime that was witchcraft.
Some pretty nifty spells, not smells.
Witch number 1, what have you done with your powers for good? I mean, do you keep the police up the area, or what can you do?
I do a good many healings.
Healings? Do you really?
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, what is a warlock?
It's a male witch.
Number 3, do warlocks ever marry witches?
I should think it's very likely.
Number 1, why do you go off on... not you, I'm so sorry. Why do witches go off on broomsticks?
They used to. They don't anymore.
Number 2, could I see your snake charm bracelet?
Yes, you may.
Oh, thank you. Number 3, were the druids witches?
The druids came later than witches.
Thank you. Number 1, can you tell me what a spell brought you into knowing you were a witch? What happened?
I think I always probably knew it. When I was about 7, I was convinced of it.
What did you do, number 2, to become a witch?
Tom Poston.
Did Tom Poston, number 2, what about those smells? Number 3 made a slight... Are there ever smells? Do you do any invocations and incantations to achieve your desired effects?
I specialize in love potions.
In love potions? You don't do any invocations. Do you ever?
Occasionally, but the demand is higher.
Thank you. Number 1, do you ever do any invocations and invoke any spirits?
I've done some exorcisms.
You don't ever use the designs on the floor and the...
When we meet.
What is that called, that many-sided design in the floor? What's that called?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Peggy Cass.
Number 3, what's Stonehenge?
Stonehenge is a place in England.
Thank you. Number 2, how did you get here?
I flew.
Number 1, alone.
No, I had my apprentice with me.
An apprentice. Number 3, in a vehicle. Did you fly in an airplane?
One of these modern things.
Yes, thank you. Number 2, how many witches are there in England now?
There are approximately 4,000 or 5,000 white witches.
I see.
That's all the time we have.
I'm not going back there.
So, boil the cauldrons and mark your ballots, if you will, please, panel, at once, without any further questioning. And, of course, no consultation whatsoever. Simply vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Team of challengers will, of course, receive $250 for every incorrect vote. Are all ballots marked? Very well. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 2. She looked like she might be able to handle that love potion angle pretty well. So
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for number 3, because if she's supposed to be such a good sport of a witch, she looks like the jolliest of the people there, so I voted for her as a jolly witch.
Jolly witch. Orson Bean, which one do you think it is?
Yes, I think number 3, too. She's delightful, and if I came across her in a clearing in the woods, I might be terrified, but only a little.
Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I voted, I'm so fascinated by the witches. I voted for number 1 because I think that although she is a white witch, I think that being a witch is a serious business, and she looks as though she takes it very seriously.
Very well, there we have it. You have all the votes in and all the reasons given, so let's find out immediately just how close to the truth we may have come on this strange evening we're having here. Finding out which one of these ladies claims to be a witch, albeit a white witch. Will the real Sybil Leek please stand up? Well, apparently she put just a halfway spell upon you all because it was that evenly divided. Incidentally, Mrs. Leek recently has written a book on antiques entitled A Shop in the High Street, which we commend to you. Number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do?
My name is Elspeth Flynn, and I'm press officer at British Information Services.
What'd you say, Orson?
I said suddenly she don't look mean anymore.
Number 2, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Sheila Rada, and I'm the casting director of the daytime version of To Tell the Truth.
Well, ladies, happily for you, in checking the score, as you know, I'm sure, there were 2 incorrect votes, and at $250 each, that is a sum total of $500 from Chef Boyardee for you to divide. And our congratulations to you, too. On your way out, of course, there will be a package of all the fine products from the makers of Chef Boyardee. We thank you, ladies, very much for being with us. Good night, and God bless you. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Robert Shea.
My name is Robert Shea.
My name is Robert Shea.
Panel, listen and follow along as I read. I, Robert Shea, am Chief Administrator of the Disaster Relief Program for the American National Red Cross. It is my job to mobilize the men and material of the Red Cross into immediate action wherever and whenever a catastrophe strikes. I have been on the scene for such disasters as the 1960 earthquake in Chile, the collapse of the Baldwin Hills Reservoir near Los Angeles, Hurricane Carla in Texas, and the spring floods in the Ohio Valley. I have recently returned from Alaska, where the Red Cross is deeply involved in supplying food, clothing, medicine, and shelter to the victims of the earthquake of March 27th, one of the most violent earthquakes ever recorded. Signed, Robert Shea. Panel, these 3 gentlemen all claim to be Robert Shea of the American National Red Cross. Let's start this round of questioning with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. Well, whichever gentleman of you it is, thank God for the Red Cross. Number 2, can you tell me what the seismograph registered for the last earthquake in Alaska?
The major quake, I
Yes.
believe, was 8.7 on the Richter scale.
Thank you. Number 3, where do you get your volunteers from when you have a major disaster? Are they on the ready all the time?
They are on the ready. They're recruited from various localities in the country.
Number 1, how do you get a hold of them quickly enough for a major disaster? How long does it take?
By telephone.
By telephone?
Yes.
And they all come from different places?
Not necessarily, but many do.
Number 2, what was the worst hit place in Alaska?
Well, Anchorage from the point of view of earthquake damage, Seward and Valdez from the point of view of fire and tidal wave.
Thank you.
Tom Poston.
My goodness sakes. Number 3, what is the slogan of the Red Cross?
I do not know.
Do you know number 2?
Well, with your help on the job.
It's on the actual badge itself. Do you know number 1? In fact, it may even be in Latin, but I think it's in English. Number 1, do you know the slogan of the...
Oddly enough, I don't.
Do you know the... Well, listen, gentlemen, it's Blood and Fire. Do you know the name of the play about the Red Cross that Shaw wrote, number 3?
No, I do not.
Do you know number 2?
No, I do not.
Number 1, do you know the name of that play?
Mr. Shaw's
Salvation Army? Oh, that's a whole other thing.
That's the Blood and Fire, too.
Peggy Cass.
Well...
Which one is the real Tom Poston here?
You have no idea how relieved they all are. Peggy.
Number 2, who started the Red Cross?
The American Red Cross was started by Clara Barton.
Number 3, how high was the tidal wave that hit Hawaii?
Which one? The one with
The one from the earthquake?
One from the earthquake? About 15 feet.
And number 1, how many tidal waves came in, say, in Japan? A place in Japan was hard hit. How many tidal waves hit that place?
I think successively there were 4 of decreasing severity.
Thank you. Number 2, what do you do? Airlift the food into Alaska?
The majority of the food stocks used in Alaska were on the ground in the hands of the military.
Thank you.
Orson Bean.
Yes, now, how did a swell lady like Clara Barton get the Red Cross going? Number 3.
Well, she was more or less the inspiration for the Red Cross. The Red Cross was established in the United States in 1905.
Oh, and what did, how...
It was given a congressional grant at that time.
And how did Clara Barton inspire it? In what way was she the inspiration for the Red Cross, Clara Barton?
By her work.
Oh, what was that work, number 1, Clara Barton?
She appeared before Congress. She wrote in some of the publications of the time. She conducted what would be called the Day of Direct Mail campaign. She spoke on street corners. She did practically everything possible.
That's it. Time for you now to mark your ballot. So please mark for the one you think is the real representative of the Red Cross. Mark them at once without change and no consultation.
I don't think you should be allowed to vote here.
As you vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked? Very well, Tom. For which one did you
I
vote?
voted for number 2 because 1 and 3 didn't know that Blood and Fire was the slogan of the Red Cross.
Peggy Cass.
I think I made a terrible mistake. I voted for 1. I just remembered there was supposed to be 6 waves that hit Japan. Then you said 4, so I'm going to kill myself.
Very well, Orson.
They were all fine, and they really knew their onions. Number 2 said the Richter graph, which sounds good to me. When Kitty asked how many. I'm sorry, friends, I'm a little confused. Move on to her.
Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number 2 because I thought his information sounded very real and also very organized. And I have a feeling it takes an enormous amount of organization to have this job.
So it makes out as 3 for number 2, 1 for number 1. We go into the charmed circle of truth with that score and see how it comes out when we stand face to face with the truth as we learn which of these gentlemen actually is the official of the American National Red Cross. Will the real Robert Shea please stand up? You did very well, panel, on that one. You did very well. And, of course, as has been said already, I will repeat to you, Mr. Shea, we are 100% behind you and your organization, as you well know. It's a marvelous thing to know that it exists, especially in times like these. Number one, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Bill Becker, and I'm the editor of a magazine called Restaurant Equipment Dealer.
And number three, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Bob Whitkey, and I'm an overseas captain for Trans World Airlines.
Well, gentlemen, we were glad you were able to spend your evening with us. And in this case, of course, there was one incorrect vote, and that amounts to $250 from Chef Boyardee. On your way out, you will receive a gift package of all the fine products from the makers of Chef Boyardee. And our sincere thanks go along with this. Hope you had as good a time as you gave to us. Good night, and God bless you. Meet our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Martin Gardner.
My name is Martin Gardner.
My name is Martin Gardner.
Please follow along again as I read to you this story, panel, if you will. I, Martin Gardner, am the author of a book of hints and recipes entitled The Secret of Cooking for Dogs. I have personally tasted each dish I recommend. Some general findings: onions are especially good if your dog has a cold, and boned fish is recommended after any illness. Carrots, beets, and rice are excellent starch supplements. For the mother of a new litter, a shot of brandy in her bowl of milk. Of course, special treats vary from dog to dog. One boxer of my acquaintance likes nothing better than an occasional ham and cheese sandwich with a saucer of cold beer. Signed, Martin Gardner. Very well, panel. These three gentlemen all claim to be Martin Gardner, canine cookbook author. And we start this round with Peggy Cass, if we may, Peggy.
Mr. Gardner, number two, what have you got against dog food?
Nothing. It's fine for those dogs who like it.
Number three, do you feel that dogs like personally cooked food better?
Some of them do, yes.
Number one, do you think dogs like garlic as a rule?
I hope so.
Oh, you use garlic liberally in your little dishes?
I certainly do.
Number three, do you find that dogs like liverwurst?
No.
Oh, well, number two, do you find that your dog likes liverwurst?
Oh, yes.
Oh. Number one, do dogs are practically the same as people? I mean, like
Almost.
the same food as people?
Almost, except they eat out of bowls.
Number two, when you're feeding a dog with long ears, what kind of a bowl do you use?
Doesn't make any difference.
Don't the ears get dirty, number three, unless you use a special bowl?
They can, yes.
With number one, you just washed them, right? Let me see. Number two, do you use any dried prepared?
Oh, horse and beans.
Number three, do you approve of the use of a clothespin for long-eared dogs?
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Is it bad for the ears or the dog? Or...
I think so, yes.
Oh, he doesn't. Number two, do you find there are many dogs with enough money to buy your book, or who is it that? Where is the market for such a? Where is the market for such a book?
Primarily, this was geared primarily for the people who have medium and small-sized apartment dogs in the city.
And lots of free time to go cooking up a roast leg of spring cat and things like that. Do dogs, number one, you know about the eating habits of dogs. Why do dogs chase cats? And if a dog, I've never heard of a dog catching a cat. Cats are smarter than dogs, and they get away and faster. Ooh. Sorry, ladies. But would a dog eat a cat if he caught him? Or what would he do with him?
I don't know. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm just a cook.
Oh, I mean,
Kitty Carlisle.
Well,
Kitty.
We had a cat, number one, and he wouldn't eat anything but home-cooked food. So I understand your whole problem, and I think you're absolutely right. I used to go to this... Well, never mind. Number two, do you believe in vitamins for dogs?
Absolutely.
Number three, do you think the vitamins make the coat look better?
Some of them do, yes.
Number two, you taste all your food. Have you tasted canned dog food?
No, not the canned dog food.
You don't approve of that? I mean, you don't approve of tasting it?
Have you ever smelled it?
Cat food is much better. It's really quite tasty.
What do you think is good for a dog's teeth, number one?
Bones.
In a New York apartment?
Tom Poston.
Well, Martin number two. Joe Lewis likes an occasional ham and cheese sandwich and a little beer. Is he the boxer you had in mind? Okay, we'll pass that. Number one, is there any interest in your book among dog owners?
I'm not sure I understand you.
Are people interested? Do they take you seriously and buy the book and use your recipes?
It's a serious book.
Number two, perhaps you could answer my question. Is there any interest in your book from the public?
The publication date is not until April 17th. I have high hopes.
Then, number one, is there another book along this line that is out and has been reviewed?
As far as I know, there isn't.
Gee.
That's all the time we have, so we leave the mystery and suspense there as we mark our ballots. And do so now, please, at once. No consultation, remember, until after you have marked. Mark immediately for number 1, number 2, or number 3.
I'm really at a dead loss.
All marked?
I can't decide, Bud.
You can't decide?
No, I'm a fool of a boy.
Well, just plunge in where angels fear to.
I'll vote for number 1. I'll tell you why I couldn't vote for number 3. Because he said they don't like liverwurst. And I happen to know that one of the ways that movie actors get dogs to lick their face is to put a little liverwurst, which doesn't show, and they lick it forever. So it wasn't number 3, I thought. However, between the other two, I voted for number 3 in my mind.
All right, Peggy.
Well, I voted for number 2 for the very simple reason that he mentioned the day this book comes out. He's interested in selling the book. He wants to be waiting in line on April, what was it? 17th.
Orson, which one do you think it is?
I think it's number 2, but I made a fatal mistake. I tried to outguess the people that cast the fakes, and I figured if the real one didn't wear glasses, they wouldn't cast 2 fakes that did, and I ruled out number 1 and voted for number 3, and it never works. I'm always hung up.
Well, so far it's evenly split. Kitty, with which one are you casting your vote?
I voted for number 2. Number 2 has such a kind look that I figured he's the kind of a man who would sit down and dream up home-cooked food for dogs.
So that makes it 2 for number 2, then. 1 for 1, 1 for 3. Let's move into the charmed canine circle with this one and find out who's right and who's wrong as we learn which one of these gentlemen is the one who actually may be known as a dog dietitian. Will the real Martin Gardner please stand up? Well, we thank you very much, Martin, and wish you great success with your book.
Well, thank you very much.
Sounds like an intriguing idea, and I'm with you. I've opened many a can of dog food and cat food, and just the odor of it is enough.
No, that was number 2 that said that.
Well, I will agree with number 2, then.
I'd like to hear number 1's
How do you
opinion
feel about the canned dog preparations?
I like it very much.
And he has eaten it, I'll bet he has.
I guess he has. He's tasted it, have you?
Yes, I have.
You find it milk bone is good for your teeth?
Delicious.
What do you do about hairballs? Have you ever had that?
That's variety. What? Number 2, what is your real name, sir, and what do you really do?
My name is Paul Linz. I'm manager of Levitan's Lake Bungalows in Mount Freedom, New Jersey.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Robert Nye. I'm in charge of membership services for the American Waterworks Association.
Well, in checking the score, gentlemen, we find, as you know, that you did a real good job in deceiving this panel. There was 3 incorrect, and that's the most success anyone has had tonight. 3 times $250 is $750 you take from Chef Boyardee, as well, of course, as a gift package of all the fine products and the makers of Chef Boyardee on your way out. We thank you for sharing your evening with us and hope you enjoyed it. Good night. God bless you. Time for tonight, but it's been wonderful, as it always is, in your company. I thank you for that. Thank all of you, too. We'll kind of see you next week at the same time. And, of course, tomorrow afternoon, I'll be with you in the afternoon show. In the meantime, speaking for Chef Boyardee, don't you forget to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Bristan Nasal Mist, a decongestant nasal spray for relief in seconds from sinus congestion and head cold distress. Bristan Nasal Mist. Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth. This program is